And now for the table of knowledge. Okay.
W.
W spells Y.
W-H-Y.
W-H-Y. And look, we've been talking about what I call business woo-woo, right, which is like, all those things that are not necessarily tax related, but are things that, could help you in your business and help you to understand the things you're doing in your business and the motivations behind stuff. And I thought why, which is some of you will be Simon Sinek fans and others may not know too much about him, like you, Jade. You didn't
That's
know who he was.
I do now, though, as of this morning. I watched it this morning.
So, all right, I might just talk for a bit, then I'll get you to have a little bit of chat about what you think. So Simon Sinek is there's a couple of really, really big people in the world of motivational speaking, business stuff. I would put him up there, the three that, well, apart from take Tony Robbins out of it because I kind of see him in a different light, because Simon Sinek, Brene Brown and Adam Grant, three that I probably think most of, they're all professionals in their own capacity. And Simon Sinek has been around for a very long time, and he sort of came to fame in 2009 when he did a TED Talk, which when I looked at it yesterday had 62 million views, so probably one of the biggest TED Talks of all time, probably close to, if not similar to Brene Brown's vulnerability talk, which is probably about the same time. So what did you get out of? And the talk was about It Starts With Why. He then wrote a book called It Starts With Why. He's written other books since then, but it's something I resonate with because I do always go back to that simple, why do I do this?
Yeah, exactly. Look, I watched the TED Talk this morning. It does only go for, I think, 16 minutes. So I would actually recommend everybody watches it if you haven't already. It's only 16 minutes out of your day. But I actually found it really, really valuable, and it changed the way that, it got me thinking. And they used the example of Apple, which is something that I can probably resonate with, being an Apple consumer in the generation. So they kind of said that the reason Apple is leading the game, they're just a computer company, just like Dell or any other company. But why are they doing so well? Why are they? Because they don't just say, hey, we make great computers, you should buy one. They say why they're doing it and why you should buy one. So they go, we're challenging the status quo. This is why we're doing it. By the way, we make great computers and phones. You should buy one. Yeah. So it's changing that mindset and explaining why they're doing something. And people get on board if they also believe in that as well. And it got me thinking because there are multiple things that I've probably purchased or, have invested in over the last couple of years. And the reason that I have is because they've told their story and why they're doing it. And I've gone, hey, I kind of agree with that. I believe in that. Let me buy that product.
Yeah.
So I'm the perfect consumer that they're targeting with this.
I think it's important as business owners, as people in general, as citizens, like what is your why? And that, we often say if you're doing some sort of coaching or whatever, why do you do it? What is your why? And when it comes back to what is your why, it usually comes back to Simon Sinek's what is your why? And you probably don't even realize that. So I just want to go back and talk about what the whole why concept is. And he calls it the golden circle. That's what he calls it.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. I've been listening to it for the last couple of days, but now I'm having a mental blank.
Yeah, no, he does.
So the golden circle, let's just try, obviously if you watch the thing, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, but draw a circle on a piece of paper. If you're not driving or whatever while you're listening to this, get a piece of paper, draw a circle. Then draw another circle around that and another circle around that. So it's like a target. You've got three. Now, in the middle circle, you're going to write why. In the next circle, you're going to write how. And on the last circle, you're going to write what. Okay, so we've got why, how, and what. Now, what a lot of people do, and most businesses tend to do, is they tend to work on the way out. So we talk about what we do and we talk about how we do it. But the difference in Simon Sinek's observations between great businesses and businesses is that they start with the why. why they do it. So with your Apple example, which was a great example.
Well, it's Simon's example.
It's Simon's example. Again, like, yes, what they do, they make computers, they make phones, they make, back in the day when he did that talk, they made MP3 players, which no one actually uses anymore. But, and then how they do it, well, they use
X, Y, Z technology, whatever.
And often he says that could be your intellectual property. It could even be your point of difference of why you're a little bit different at doing, like, making the thing that you're making. But the why is the thing that actually drives that purpose, that sense of purpose. Now, often people say, well, why they do it is because they want to make money. He said that's not a why. That is compensation. It's not your why. So if you sort of think about it, why do you get out of bed in the morning? What is it that drives you to do what you do? And I really suggest everyone take a little bit of time and think about their business or whatever it is that they're passionate about. And if your purpose and your why is not aligned with what you're doing, you're probably in the wrong place.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's something, I mean, you can't just think of it straight away. You do need to spend some time thinking about it too.
Yeah. So, all right, just another, I guess, thinking about it for me. I have been thinking about it quite a lot and, trying to put this into my business of why I do what I do and, trying to come up. Now, you can have mission statements, you can have vision statements and all of that. It should be something simple. Why do I do this? And, I keep coming back to the same thing. Why I do this is because everything I'm doing is to try and make small businesses better. Now, why? Why do I do that? Like, I feel like sort of when I sort of deep dive into that a bit more, it's probably because my whole family structure has always been around small business and I've seen how difficult it is for small businesses. My grandfather, he owned a motor mechanic store in Maryland. He actually had 3. He had 4, I think, at one stage, Parramatta, Maryland, Camden and Campbelltown. I watched my mum work in that business for, when I was a kid, she worked there the whole time. So
you would have spent a lot of time there as a child as well.
Yeah, for sure. I used to go and type up group certificates for people on the old typewriters back when I was like 13 and what have you. My grandfather made pretty decent money out of it. But it's hard working in your own business and to be an entrepreneur, whatever that sort of means at that stage. My uncle joined the business. He ran his own business from there. My grandfather on the other side, my father's dad, he was a dentist, so he ran his own business. My auntie, she's a hairdresser. She's always run her own businesses. And my father always had the dream of running his own business. He worked in corporate for many years and then eventually bought a hire car and ran his own business as a sole trader then and as a company. So I guess even for me, when I think back to when I'm an accountant, right? Accountants, I had not ever grown up in the accounting world in the tax space. So I remember sitting there one day in the shower going, oh, gosh, I just wish one day I could find a way to make money out of what I do. And obviously I got paid. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't getting paid what I do, but how could I make my own business out of what I do? And, eventually I got to the point where I could. And, it took me a long time. I didn't start in business until I was it's nearly our 15th birthday. Woo-hoo. So I was 39 when I actually started my own business. So it wasn't like I started this at 20. But I know I've struggled with it. I know I've seen my mum and dad struggle with business and I've seen so many small businesses struggle because it's hard. It's bloody hard. But there's some great rewards out of it as well. So my purpose, I think my why is to help those people to navigate the hard parts about it and try to have really good businesses.
Definitely. And you have the skills and the knowledge and the experience and, your why is to pass that on and help people, really.
So whether my why is in the podcast or whether my why is in my Jigsaw Tax, where I talk to, my clients about their small businesses. And I know there's also clients who are not business owners. Of course, I deal with other people as well. Or whether it's in EYB, which is our new consulting business, which will be dealing with small businesses and other businesses as well, or in Opal Plan Management, which is going to be for NDIS participants, but I also intend with that to be helping NDIS businesses because I think they're a really important part of the question and the equation. I think all of it still comes back to that. So, and the accidental bookkeeper, of course, like we have the accidental bookkeeper bookkeeping business, which is, again, all about helping small businesses.
Exactly right.
So that's my why, I guess. That's my why.
I don't know mine yet because I only listened to the TED Talk this morning, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, if you're interested in there's obviously a book. It starts with why. Simon Sinek also has a number of other books. He has a podcast. He has, like, one of his other books is about the infinite game, and I think that's really interesting. So when we go into business, and actually Karen's is probably the perfect example of that, right? You go into business with a long game, right? It's not a short game where you're going to win and once you won, it's done. Like, we go into business with the intention of our business being there for a long time. And so sometimes the decisions we're making tend to be very short term, and we should be looking at those longer term things. Often when you do that, it comes back to your why. If I said my business was to fill out tax returns and that was my why, there was no why to it, but that's all I do. Well, clearly I've evolved from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's only because I'm using my why to evolve my purpose rather than going, well, I fill out tax returns and get people good tax results.
Exactly right.
So, I know we just talked about Karen's, and I'm sorry about Karen, but I just feel like that was such a short-term decision. It was always going to be that fad disappeared. So until they can find a way to pivot a business like that to be something that's long-term, I don't understand why you would have gone into business for that purpose.
No, exactly right. But I think it is an important thing that everyone thinks about, whether you're a small business owner or not as well.
Oh, sure. But it doesn't have to be. This is a life thing. This is business is one part of it, but everyone should have their own values.
Exactly right. So I think just spend some time reflecting on what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. And I mean, look, if I look at some people, it's really obvious. Like, I look at Lauren and I mean, I can tell everything she does is around sustainability. She's passionate about animals and stuff like that and helping the environment. And I imagine a lot of her why, like the fact that she's a volunteer for Wires and all that stuff, that's all about her purpose.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that you have to have that same purpose. I'm just saying everyone has a purpose.
Absolutely.
They've just got to find it and then really work with that.
Exactly.
And it helps you get out of bed.
It does, exactly. And you think, what gets me out of bed in the morning? Why am I getting out of bed?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you get out of bed and come to work, and I imagine that there is something in what we do here that is aligned with your purpose.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I've been here for 7 years.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be here anymore.
If it wasn't aligned with my why, I wouldn't be here.
Exactly. You just probably need to dig a bit deeper to kind of work out what that why is.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right. Well, enough about why. And so enough about business woo-woo for this week.
Yeah.